Namaste. So we have already covered these seven, these seven topics in the previous video. You can go there and then you can check it. We have already covered in a detail all these seven topics. So the first one was word specific, picture specific, due specific, intersecting, independent, parallel, montage. So now, without any further delay, let's move further. There is no set rule for when and how to use a given type of word pictures combinations. Most cartoonists just rely on their instincts and don't get hung up on anyone's nerdy categories. Play around, see what works for you, and build your own instincts through practice. So at the end, what depends on whatever you are making in your comic books, it depends on what you practice daily. So without making any plan, yeah, you will have a plan, not you are not you can't ignore all the plan. So you will have a plan, but it is not in much detail. You can you have to apply your whatever you wrote in your book or wrote in your diary, on whatever you wrote in your script. You just need to make the uh, dialogue, and then you have to put the dialogue into the your comic panel, and then you have to make the character. So at that time you have to whatever you have practiced already, just you need to make them convey, or make them in a better way, that's so that the readers can understand whatever you want to convey. So it depends on your, it's depends on whatever you know about, you will have to apply into the panel. So play around, see and what works for you, and build your own instincts through practice. So that is what I am trying to saying you. And also the author wants to tell you what works for you, and build your own, so you can build your own instincts through the practice. So it depends on the practice. But when those instincts fail, and it happens to all of us, this is a roadmap that can help you get back off on course. Okay, definitely. When will you try to make a good instinct, and if you fail, and it happens to all of us, definitely. So this is something when he is saying this is a roadmap that can help you get back on course. Ask yourself a few questions, and now and then. And am I taking advantage of the freedom words given to give to my art? Am I taking advantage of the freedom my art gives to my words? Do I sell fresh baked cookies? Are there good reasons to tell my readers anything twice? Okay. Uh, are both pictures and words contributing something of value of each panel? Could the two together be more than the sum of their parts, or could the each carries a vastly different message? Do words and pictures need to be treated all that differently? Once again, there is no wrong way to mix words with pictures, but if you want to hold your readers' attentions, so if you want to hold your readers' attention, there are a couple of things to watch for. First, keep your word count under control. If half of every panel is covered in words, you might want to consider saying more with the pictures. Adding moments to break up the text into smaller chunks, or simply using favor words to get your message across. Also, don't think that oh crap, I'm running out of room. Just don't do this. So that is something you have to keep in mind, like keep your word count. it's not, you don't make your huge words and mm, a long paragraph, you know no need to make a long paragraph words. So that will be very, that will be very irritating for the readers, will be the irritating for the readers. So that's why we have to, we have to make the good words in a good sense. Consider using a healthy variety of combinations so that neither side of your reader's brains is neglected. So it is very important to keep in mind that that sometimes we make comics just for us, like I make comics for myself. Like if it is interesting for me, that means it will be interesting for everyone. It's not compulsory. So you have to keep in mind, that is very important, that whatever you are going to make, or whatever you have in your mind, so is that exactly the people will like also. So you have to keep in mind, accordance to the people, make the comic panel and words and pictures, so that they will also like. Otherwise, if you will make by your own interest, that will be very difficult for the, yeah, you can make for your practice, but if you want to publish your comic, and if you want to convey the pictures, convey the comics to the people, so that is very important. When you are doing these type of steps, that time it is very important to keep in mind that you have to make a good sense while making comic. Like also I remember whenever I tried to make a comic book, what was happening with me that time. I was thinking something, and I had a story, and I was thinking, like, let's say let I can make this a comic book. I can make a comic book using some simple characters like stickman or something else. So that time what I realized, according to my interest, I was making the comic. And what I found, like, in every panel I was changing something. There was no flow, there was no something, sense. Just it was my interest, that's why I was making. So it is good for practice, but if you want to, if you want to convey the your comic to the people, if you want to hold your audience to your comics, that time you have to keep in mind, there must be a flow in your comic book. There must be a good script, good pictures, good flow in your comic book. So everything is very important while making comic book. That's why it's not depend on your mood, right? So it's depend on the it's depend on your practice, it's depend on your dedication, it depends on your, hard work. So that then you will be able to make your comic book in a good way, so that the people will also read that. Most of all, keep focused on your story, which both words and pictures should equally serve, because that's what your readers will be focused on if you do your job right. Now that we have covered the different ways of mixing words and pictures to tell a story, let's examine how the two are combined graphically. Starting with these freaky word-filled blobs over my head. So what he's saying, let's say again. Let's read again. Starting with these freaky word-filled blobs over my head. This one. The relationship of words balloons to the drawings that surround them has always been an uneasy one. Okay, so in comics and sequential art, Will Eisner calls the word balloons a desperation's device, an attempt to capture and make visible an ethereal element sound. My words cannot be seen. Balloons don't exist in the same plane of reality as these pictures, yet here they are floating about the physical objects. Some responding to the paradox by de-emphasizing the physicality of the balloon shape using hairline borders on or no orders at all. What day, Jima? Yesterday, Charlie. Thought I'd say out, going to be blunger, hens, roads of meat, a plumber. Oh, I would have, I would have done that, darling. What is written here? Okay, let it go. As if to say, hey, I am not really here. This is just where the pictures ends. Roll, roll, roll. While others embrace the physical presence of balloons with the heavy contours, more deliberate sculpting, or direct intersections with the surrounding art. Shape and style are entirely up to you, of course, but do keep an eye on the size of your balloons, partially for the reasons of text image balance cited earlier, but also to avoid forcing pictures to represent too many emotions in a single image. One balloon representing four emotions. This will be the best. So he's saying one balloon representing four emotions. Let's see what is the four representations here. This will be the best party ever. Why? If wait a minute, what did he say about friends? Oh my god, that's this weekend. He won't be there. Here, my party is ruined. Four balloons require scenting four emotions. This will be the best party ever. So this one was the first. This one is the first. Wait a minute, what did he say about France? Two. Oh my god, that's this weekend. He won't be here. Third, and the fourth one is my party is ruined. Also, when our oversized words balloons tip the text image balance too far, a kind of naturality of image kicks in, and extreme versions of the emotional average mentioned earlier, and a comic can start to feel more like illustrated prose. Also, in panels like this one or this chapter's first page, the reader is likely to start noticing that they are just reading text, even to the point of debating whether to skip parts or not. While in more balanced combination, text and image keep tapping each other on the shoulder, so the reader never looks long enough to break the spell. The questions of how much emphasis to give individual words in a balloons is less clear cut. Those of us who started out in the melodramatic world of superhero comics became accustomed to frequent uses of oversized, bold, or italicized. Bah, who is worried? Nothing human can stand up to think. That's the scary part, mister. He isn't human. Allowing for strong variations in lettering can help to integrate words and pictures by celebrating their common roots and graphic symbols. So some cartoonists use dramatic variations of size and shapes to portray vocal inflections on words to word basis. Ah, dinner. Gup, gup, gup. See what? And of course, nothing says loud like a big font. On the other hand, we will as Isner himself, a long time user of big words, point out that how we hear a word balloon is also affected by the expressions and body language of the speaker, regardless of how the dialogue is lettered. I'm sorry. And as prose writers and and as prose writers will tell you by the meaning of the words themselves. Thus, a number of the cartoonists working on a quieter, more naturalistic stories have been using emphasize more sparingly in recent years. Similarly, in the last decade, a growing number of artists are turning from comics brassy all caps tradition to embrace upper and lower case fonts. Personally, I go back and forth a lot on the questions whether or not to use upper and lower case lettering. Okay, so uppercase and lowercase, we can also think on it. Is that really, to go back and forth a lot on the questions of whether or not you use upper and lowercase? Is it happening with you or not? You can check in yourself. My first book was hand lettered in all caps by Pro Letters Bob Leppan. The next book used an upper and lowercase font with a bold italic. This one uses a font based on the handwriting. Upper and lowercase letters do have some advantages, including their more distinct word shapes that facilitate scanning. It is possible that the whole all caps thing is just an old habit that comic needs to outgrow. Maybe. Check the notes sections at the end of this chapter more for more on this debate and why I am still on the fence. Also check chapter 5 for some info on traditional and digital lettering techniques. So I think if you will, if you will not, if you will, or if you want to learn about the how to write the comics books, I'm talking about what will be the writing of yours, and how how you can design your writings, or how, what will be the techniques to design the letters or words. So that is what we are not, I think, going to make our hand writings. We are going to digital writings. We are going to use the digital writing. So that's why it's also important to important thing that we have to also, even if you are a digital writer and you want to make your digital comic book, you need a good choice of good choice of digital writing. So that is what, because I was also suffering from these type of questions, and now it becomes uncomfortable by the practice, I think. So yeah, okay. Thanks to film and televisions, we have gotten used to stories that continuously use sight and sound and offer rich immersive experience. But as comics creators, if we want to reproduce that kind of experience, we need to do it using only one sense. Okay, what he's trying to saying, let's read again. But as comic creators, if we want to reproduce that kind of experience, we need to do it using only one sense. I think by only, he want to say only using the eye, not the ear. Words play an important role in comics. By bridging that gap, they give voice to our characters, allow us to describe all five senses. Five senses, that means eye, nose, ear, skin, and mouth, So these are five senses that the author is saying us. And in this case, the sound effects, they graphically become what they describe and give readers a rare chance to listen with their eyes. So basically, when when you are watching a TV, that time you are using the only one sense, and that is your that is your eyes only. sorry, when you are watching the TV, that means that time you are using your two senses. One is your ear and the other is your eye. And when you are reading a comic book, that time, you are using only one sense, that is your eye. And as well as your imagination is continuously working. You can't ignore it. Even if you are watching TV, it is still in progress, it is still in working. So imagination can't be stopped. But in terms of five senses, we are using only uh, one sense when we are seeing the comic, or in terms of, we are using two senses, eyes and ears, in terms of when we are watching TV, right? So what I think, so it's about how when you are improving your skill, how you use your senses. So as much as you will use your sense, that will improve your the skill. Okay, let's move further. Creating great sound effects doesn't require the sort of methodical consistency that good balloon lettering needs. Sound effects are one shot invitations. You can improvise like crazy. Once again, no right or wrong approaches, but there are some set variables that you can improve within, including, sorry, loudness, as indicated by size, boldness, tilt, and exclamation exclamation points. So loudness, as you can see here, you are using your eyes and you want to experience the loudness without hearing a voice. So that is here, you can see given, that is given here. As you can see here, given boom, knock knock, bomb, thud. And the second one is timbre, the quality of the sound, its roughness, waviness, sharpness, fusiness, etc. Like ping, scree, jab, crack, budge, ooh, ooh, gram, so these type of words. And associations, font styles and shapes that refer to or mimic the source of the sound, like ring, boo, beep, spice, catching, archie, and so many things. Graphic integrations, pure designs, considerations of shape, line, and color, as well as how the effects mixes with the picture. So that is graphic integration. It's interesting to add the graphic design in your text. Okay, of course, if you are going for a more understated kind of story, you may want to avoid too many flashy effects. Dinner for one again. But if you don't mind showing off once in a while, sound effects are a great way to do. Like here you can see these kind of sound effects, crunch. In some cases, the collaborations of words and pictures involves the collaboration of a separate writer and artist. If you plan to write story for others to draw, here are some additional suggestions. First and most obvious, think visually. All 57 animals are suddenly lifted off the ground toward the mothership. Many blinks in astonishment. Some complex visual can be represented in a single panel, while some very simple actions might need more than one. Yeah, as you can see here. Try various methods of collaboration in their 60s superhero stories. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby reportedly worked out rough plot in conversations. Kirby then fleshed them out he drew, and Lee added the dialogue later. Mothers like Alan Alan Moore have been known to write rich, detailed descriptions of each and every panel for his various artists. Assuming you know who your collaboration is, you can adjust your method to what works best for both of you. The comics scripts is the tool most associated with the writing comics that others will draw. Though there are some lone cartoonists who write full script for themselves. Writing comics scripts is an art unto itself. Check the bibliography for some books that can give you detailed guides on how it's done. But remember, even if you team up with someone to create comics, your stories will be at their strongest if they feel like they were created with a single minded purpose. Be aware of writer versus artist syndromes, where one collaboration tries to win the reader over with evocations, prose, and the other tries to dazzle the reader with substance art. No matter what kind of word, pictures, mixtures you put in your comics, it's when words and pictures combine seamlessly that comics are at their best. Whether you work alone or as part of a team, that's a goal worth pursuing. So far, I have barely touched on what makes a good story, partially because I'm still trying to figure that one out for myself. This book is about how to tell the story you already have in mind, regardless of where those stories come from. Still, there are some suggestions for basic storytelling goals that most writers seem to agree on. First, first look for stories that are rooted in your own experience and that speak to the experience of your readers. Find new and interesting kinds of conflicts between characters. So keep in mind, find new and interesting kinds of conflict between characters and between individuals and the world around them. So this is the highlighted point that you can, keep in mind. Conflict between characters and between individuals around the world. This one also. Surprise your readers, take them to place they have never been. Provoke emotion, suspense, laughter, horror, joy, sadness, not through cheap manipulations but by tapping into common heritage and experiences. Make your readers care, make them want to know how it all turns out, make them come back for more. Basically, it's the same advice you will get no matter what medium you choose to tell your story in. Comics is different from these other media in terms of its challenges, tools, and working methods, but those basic goals are the same. Because all stories wind up in the same place, the mind of the audience. This is why I don't think there is a type of story that's right for comics, and why it's a mistake to limit the kind of the story we tell in a attempt to squeeze ourselves into someone else's self space. Nobody knows what will work until they try it. Some of comic biggest success story is recent in recent years have explored subjects that no one was writing about at the time. Stories no one had any reason to think would succeed. My advice, write what you want to read. You will have more fun doing it. And if all else fails, you will always have at least one loyal reader. It's easy to forget that the same few dots and lines that can draw a person's can as easily write that what that person says. Taxi. Words and pictures, for all their differences, taxi, are just two sides of the same coin. Both both share a common purpose and common heritage. Great cartoonists demonstrate how seamlessly the two can be combined by emphasizing the calligraphy qualities of simple cartoon images and the pictures like immediacy of short bold words. So this is the last piece. But words and pictures also have their separate histories and separate strength. And these have also been a rich source of inspirations for many of the creators who are drawn to comics. Like any married couple, words and pictures have to balance the need to find common ground with the need to explore their separate identities. And as any married couple will tell you, that process ongoing and can last a lifetime. I'm just saying I'm seem to do all the talking in this relationship. Look, I'm trying to show you how feel. So it was very interesting. How you choose to bring the two together on the page is up to you. You are the math checker. Math chamber. Okay, yeah, it's a very nice. Now we have covered the chapter 3. I'm very happy for this, to know about what exactly how we can write a story. It's a good book, I think. We can write by our own stories and comic books. So yeah, so see you in the next video. In the next video we will know about the chapter 4, world buildings. So that's for the today's. See you in the next video. Till then, bye. Thank you.